Well, in addition to the murders in Chicago, the number of police officers killed in the line of duty increased by 56% from last year, as more than 130 officers lost their lives. But what's really devastating is the number of officers killed in a deliberate ambush attack, which skyrocketed by 163%. Many blame groups like Black Lives Matter for stirring up cop attacks by focusing on controversial killings, which they claim are the result of police brutality. Joining me now is former D.C. Homicide Detective Rod Wheeler. Rod, it sure looks like there's a war on cops going on.
Well, it does, and it has been a war on cops for a significant period of time, David. But I must say, it's a significant difference between the war on cops and what we see happening in Chicago. Unfortunately, a lot of people in this country, including the group Black Lives Matter, has taken their frustration and their aggression out on police officers because of what's going on in the community. When in essence, David, the issues going on in the communities, especially in Chicago, has nothing to do with the lack of policing. It has everything to do with the economy. And I've said this for years now, and I think, and I hope now with the new president in office, and I'm pretty sure he will be addressing that fact. Look, black individuals in the city of Chicago and in other urban areas across this country are killing each other out of desperation and out of hopelessness. There's no jobs. There's no job training.
But, Rod, let me push back a little, if I could.
Sure.
We had a Great Depression in this country back in the 1930s. The level of violence back in the 1930s was minuscule compared to where it is now. So there's something else happening. And let me also add to that, I was in New York throughout the 1980s and 90s when we saw murder rate go from 2,200 a year down to below 400. That's an unbelievable shrinking of the number of murders of innocent lives in this city, and it was because of proactive policing. That's what brought the murder rate down in this city. Couldn't the same be done in Chicago?
No, that's an interesting observation, and you're exactly right when you say that, what you observed in the 80s and the 90s. Look, I was a cop out on the streets in the 90s, so I know exactly what you're talking about. The D.C. area during the 90s had the highest number of murders in the country at the time. But here's the difference. Real quickly, Dave, what was driving those murders back in the 90s was the drug trade, and more specifically, the crack trade on the street. So as police officers, we aggressively pursued specifically those individuals, and so by locking those people up, we were able to bring the crime rate down. Okay. That's completely different, Dave, than what's going on in Chicago today.
Rod, we just got a minute left. Let me bring it to politics, because Donald Trump says he's going to stop what he sees as the war on cops. It may not be what he can do, but what he doesn't do. What we saw during the Obama administration was federal interaction, or some would say interference in local policing actions. The feds would come in and tell cops and police chiefs and mayors how to run their city. There's probably going to be less of that under Donald Trump. Is that a good thing?
That is a good thing. And you know what? The reason it's a good thing is because Donald Trump has it figured out. You know, real quickly, Donald Trump said during the election to African Americans, he said, what do you have to lose? And what he was saying, in essence, Dave, is that if you give him a chance, economically, if he puts jobs in these communities, he gives training to people, and he supports the local police, ultimately, I think what's going to happen is we're going to see crime go down, and we're going to see less aggression towards the police officers in this country.
Rod, there's one other thing I got to bring up, particularly as most of these deaths are occurring in black communities where you have fatherless homes in so many of these communities. Isn't that a part of the problem? There has to be some social change among the family structure in these communities.
You know, Dave, real quickly, I know we don't have a lot of time. Think back to the Baltimore riots when you had the young 15-year-old boy whose mother saw him on television throwing rocks at the police. She went and she got him.
That's
she yanked him by the
I remember that.
Yeah, we need more of that in our community, and that goes to exactly what you're talking about now, Dave.
And by the way, it's happening in the white community as well, in the Hispanic community. It's happening all over. It's just concentrated, the black community. It's got to change. We've got to change that family structure, make fathers be proud of being fathers, and stay in the home. That has to happen.
Absolutely.
Rod Wheeler, great to see you, my friend. Have a wonderful New Year. Appreciate you being here.
You too. Happy New Year to you too, Dave.
Happy New Year.